Why don't the leftists just pool their own money together to fund all their free stuff? Apart from the fact that if they do create value themselves, the state automatically eats a third to one half of it, the answer is the very systems they have created make it nearly impossible for a group of like minded people to do that very thing. Let's take a commune, for example, as the most extreme version of the idea, and the fact that leftists are always saying they want to build a commune. We'll also just ignore all the reasons a working commune would fail in the long run. Now, you can easily find relatively cheap land in the low hundreds of thousands of dollars that a group of 10 people could easily afford to purchase. I do know that land is cheap for a reason, so we'll be ignoring that. Those same people, with no legal barriers, could easily purchase or build more than enough shelter and supply themselves with more than enough utilities to live. And given each of those people could specialize to perform the roles required of them in the commune, everything from a baker to a doctor. Now, they could do this all for relatively cheap and sustain themselves and provide most of the free stuff like healthcare or childcare with minimal effort. Now, let's see exactly why they cannot do this. Starting at the most fundamental levels, zoning laws usually forbid any more than one or two residences on a single property. So, even if the leftists found a bunch of like minded people, they would be blocked at this first step and then blame capitalism for it. Then, let's assume they can solve the first step. They now have to build or buy their houses. This could be done for the cheap if you import Chinese portable homes or build homes out of easily available materials and only build as you need. However, the state forces strict building codes, which push up the cost of getting the homes astronomically. Now, this isn't as much of an insurmountable hurdle as a step before it. However, it does add a lot to the costs and can completely rule out some construction methods due to the negation of cost savings. For example, mud hut is free, and since labor is free on a commune, the labor is also free. However, the legal costs build up quickly. The building permit will be in the high hundreds to low thousands of dollars. If you're in Australia, you must do a course as an owner builder, which is another few hundred. A building surveyor and planning approval is another multiple thousands of dollars to low tens of thousands of dollars. Now you also have to have mandatory utilities, such as waste and potable water, which is another few K. Electricity is almost 10,000 if attached to the grid, and more if not. A rough estimate could be anywhere from 15K, which is still reasonable for being forced to do something, to 40K, which is unreasonable for the sort of structure. And the sad thing is, the council can just deny the construction after money has already been poured in. Now, assuming they have bought their land, built their homes and workstations, now they have to start living, and here the state meddles just as much, if not more so. Let's take the baker as something you would not expect the state to deal too much in. We'll also assume that the baker produces excess value to help support the commune by trading that value to outsiders. The commune's baker will need to do at least these things: register the bakery with the council. The council can just say no. Build out an entire commercial kitchen to the standards of the land, which is again expensive, and the council can stop you from doing so. Then, when the baker creates surplus value, which is sold outside of the commune, it will get taxed. Another example is the commune's doctor. They will need around 10 years of study to operate legally and pay a university thousands on thousands of dollars and tens of thousands on a doctor's office to meet compliance. Now, when it gets to the grand picture, requirements such as health and defense, the commune runs into even more hurdles. As soon as the commune starts offering any insurance being paying into a pot and being entitled to a payout, which universal healthcare within a commune would be, they will find themselves getting investigated by the state agency that runs insurance, APRA here in Australia, for example. The commune would have to provide multiple millions of dollars upfront to show that they are capable of paying for the insurance, which alone kills the idea rather quickly. Not to mention all the regulatory burdens that come with running an insurance company, which this would most likely be. Or if the commune just decides to pay out of pocket, When or if a member gets hurt or sick, then the commune needs to fork up cash in that moment, which could be thousands of dollars, depending on the country. And that adds a whole bunch of internal headaches, which we said we won't touch, which likely leads to the upfront payment ending in the commune becoming an insurance company. Defense, childcare, schooling, all of these things all have similar issues. The immediate concept of pool resources, pay out when is needed, is remarkably easy to implement. However, the state itself imposes massive legal and financial pressures, which while may not make the idea impossible, essentially make it extremely difficult to pull off. Obviously, some are easier than others. For example, childcare and schooling are by far the easiest to pull off, whereas defense is by far the hardest, as the state holds onto that power with an iron grip. We, as right wingers and libertarians, say, oh, why don't the leftists just use their own money to start up a commune or other leftist ideas? But the ironic thing is, the leftists' own policies disincentivize them from doing exactly that. The leftists could have their dream commune and its consequences tomorrow if only they help get the state out of the way.